Hello and welcome to another episode of the Saving Mumbai podcast. My guest today, Milind Mhaske, CEO, Praja Foundation. Praja is a non-partisan organization working towards enabling accountable governance since 1997. Today, of course, I'm very lucky I'm joined by Sachin Kalbag, who will be known to you as a more accomplished host of the Saving Mumbai podcast. Sachin, welcome.
Thank you so much,
It's great to
Anupam.
have you here. This is the first episode we're doing as a three-way. And Milind, of course, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Milind, I want to understand what Praja does, right? Because I read on your website very stark words, where it says that urban governance in India has failed to deliver good governance to the citizens of urban India. And you also believe that this is due to the governance structure. So let's start from there. What does Praja do? You've been around since 1997. That's almost 30 years. So what does it do? What was, the foundational principles of your organization?
So, as an organization, to put it simply, we build tools for better governance. We have built the Citizen Charter for Mumbai, the online complaint system for Mumbai. This is way back in 1999 and 2003 that we have done it. Post that, we have been doing various reports on how elected representatives are functioning, issues like civic, education, health, crime, housing, transport. We do reports on them. Ideas to show a mirror of what is happening in this area, to look at what are the good practices, also to look at where things are falling back, and then create a dialogue discussion between various stakeholders, primarily the citizens, the government, and the elected representatives, to build a trust on understanding the issue and then finding a solution for it. That's broadly what we do. We have, of course, scaled up to now working in multiple cities across the country. We have a national presence. We work primarily now with the state, with the central government, with Niti Aayog, with Ministry of Urban Affairs and institutions like NIUA. But we also work in certain states like Maharashtra, UP. We have presence in some northeastern states and in multiple cities. Primarily, right now, what we do is we do a lot of research on understanding and creating a shared understanding on urban governance status, reforms, solutions, and to build capacity, primarily the state capacity to reach and create better governance structures, make sure that services improve and stuff like that.
Sachin, I want to ask you one thing. The role of organizations like Praja, and Bombay has got a very rich history of having these organizations that interact with the governing, whether it is a civic authority, whether it is MSRDC, MMRDA. There's a very rich overlay of these organizations that at one time help to improve the governance, also give the citizens like you and me a chance to understand. They have dashboards, for example. How important are these?
For us in the media, Praja is one organization where it's a go-to place for anything to do with governance in terms of understanding what our netas are doing, what our political leaders are doing, regardless of whether they are representatives or they are people who are in the political arena. Every election, they will come out with data which will support the investigations or the reportage that media will do. Now, the common public will argue whether the reportage is, biased, non-biased, but be that as it may, but everything will require data. And without data, we cannot question authorities on what is going right, what is going wrong. Now, Praja's credibility has been built over the last, as you pointed out, over the last nearly 3 decades on data that is credible, data that is applicable to our elected representatives. And journalists can collate that data confidently. Even things like how many sessions have they been present in either in parliament or in the municipal body or any other governance body. Many organizations across the country do the same, but I think many Mumbai journalists have been depending on Praja for that. So I think these organizations are a vital part of our democratic process. To just add one sentence, I don't think we are in election season right now. Many people in India think that the be-all and end-all of democracy is voting.
Right.
It is actually the beginning. It is the holding account, the accountability of people is something that you and I and Milind and millions of others should be doing every single day. And that is a bridge that they kind of build between citizens and authorities.
Yeah. Which in fact brings me to the, one recent interview where you had for the Indian Express, where you mentioned about how civic elections haven't been held in Mumbai now for 2 years. Not just Mumbai, I believe that a lot of
All
other
of Maharashtra.
large cities in Bombay, in Maharashtra have not seen civic elections for 2 years. As far as I can remember, it's unprecedented. At least the time that I have been in Bombay,
Yeah.
I don't think there's
It
ever
is.
been such a, and
Not for this long period.
Yeah, this is the second time it's happening, but
Yeah.
this is very exceptional.
So first, why? Why is this gap? Because Bombay is that way. I mean, if you look at this history, BMC is very democratic, very the term starts and the term ends. That process has always been followed. आगे पीछे थोड़ा होता है, but it's still. What's gone wrong this time?
So first, when we look at the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, it's a unique body, not just because of the size and budget, but given the Indian context, we actually had a very good legacy of municipal governance. We had lot which we can ask for.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gap out there, but when it comes to municipal governance, when it comes to having regular elections, Maharashtra, Mumbai have been an exception, literally
Exactly.
across the country.
Yeah.
This is in history, this is the second time that we have not had an election for a very long period. But this time we have kind of exceeded it. It's primarily because of political reason.
Right.
It's usually spoken that there's been some kind of reservation issue which has cropped up. Affirmative action towards OBC category, OBC class, which was supposed to be there, and there's some gap out there.
Right.
But this is a pan-India thing. Post this issue coming up, multiple states have actually had elections and they have addressed this issue, and then they have had local elections. Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, UP had recently local elections. So this is something which our political leadership should have sorted out. And right now we know that there's been multiple changes. So almost everybody's in the political side to be blamed for it. And at the same time, I think another one agency which we need to kind of point towards is the State Election Commissioner. If you look at the 74 Amendment of the Constitution, which kind of clearly lays out that municipal elections should happen not less than 3 months after the term gets over. And Maharashtra Act, the Mumbai Act actually says, has had a precedent that we used to have elections much before that, and the new government used to get formed on time.
Right.
We have not seen this happening, and it's primarily because there's a lethargy amongst our political leadership. They don't want to solve the problem. I have this we do work with a lot of youth, right? Whenever we have this workshop, we tell them that if you go to an office of MP, MLA, or a councillor, people outside the office are waiting for the same thing. They're waiting for roads, some problem on the roads, some garbage, some issue with water, some issue with solid waste management, stuff like that, which is actually in the domain of the council, with the councillor. But the MLA and the MP also want to solve for it, but they don't want to be a councillor.
Okay.
So probably I think they want the job of the councillor, and that's why they don't want to hold election.
Yeah.
But I wanted to add something to it, because as a citizen, the municipal councillor and or the people who represent me in the municipal corporation were my go-to people for solutions for everything that you pointed out.
Yeah.
But now for the last 2 years, because elections have not been held, neither are they certain whether they'll come back, nor are we certain who to go to. So in our mind, there is only one guy, and who's been recently told by the election commission to move away.
Yeah.
But there is, for the last 2 years, there was one guy who was kind of the CEO, and he would decide exactly what this city needs, or what this city is capable of, or what the capacity is, and everything is decided. So I'm, as a citizen, I'm extremely concerned by this state of affairs, because I don't have a representative to go to. Bandra is dug up like nothing on earth.
No, but which is the irony, right? Because if there's nobody in charge, then who's doing all this?
Who's doing all of this? But if I as a citizen I'm feeling helpless, and I consider myself being a journalist as one of the privileged ones because I have enough contacts. How would a person's, living in a middle class locality or a lower middle class locality,
Even a slum for that matter.
or anybody,
Yeah.
how would we go out and try and get solutions for our day-to-day concerns? Where is this? Why is this gap being built so much? And what do you think are the solutions for this in the immediate, 3 to 4 months?
So first, I think there is a lot of apathy out there amongst citizens. That whatever you just said, you are feeling angst for it, right?
Yes.
But that angst has not reached a scale where our political leadership is moving and taking some action, and that's because I think there's a huge apathy amongst our citizens, and I'm not talking about a common person. I'm not talking about a person who is living on a day-to-day wage or who is living who is probably even has a stable job or business, but at a I would say middle level category. Like I'm talking of people at a higher level. Like there's apathy amongst these people because of the person who's trying to survive really can't doesn't have the time and energy to get into these issues.
Yeah.
Like, but our leadership, maybe business leadership, maybe leadership from academia, organizations, media, government, we are not really feeling that angst so much.
The questions are not being asked, you're saying. Neither the media is asking
Yeah,
questions,
nobody is asking.
nor the business leadership.
Absolutely,
nor-
absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the article comes in the paper about it. Somebody probably, I think there are a couple of people who have gone in and filed a PIL, but that's just in bits and pieces. And that was the reason I called out the state election commissioner, because in the scheme of things, that person could have called for election. There was a particular person, Mr. T.N. Seshan. Before him, the chief election commissioner's office was probably not even known to people. And then he kind of redefined it. Our state election commissioner should have actually called for it. Our political leadership, our business leadership should have called for it. All our top honchos are staying here, and we are not. I mean, they are not even raising a voice for it. I think that's where the buck stops.
Yeah. So
This is where I'm saying, I said earlier, this is where organizations will fill that gap,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Which is where I think, people like Praja or ADR, that is where the gap needs to be filled. I'm just trying to figure out, Anupam, if I may,
Yeah, please, yeah.
if I have to have a confluence of people, of citizens and organizations and politicians, how do I go about doing it? Not me. I'm just saying.
Right.
Generally.
You know what, Sachin?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the closest that I can think of is during COVID, when there was a high-level committee formed by the chief minister.
Yes.
That's where the
Yeah,
responsibility
yeah,
starts.
yeah.
And it was star-studded, man. I mean, it had like Deepak Parekh, where they got, I think, 3 or 4 people and said that now these are the guys responsible for getting us out of this mess. That committee never met. Or at least as far as I know, I don't remember any recommendations coming out of that. And please, Milind.
So India moves in crisis. So COVID was a time when our leadership from all sections came together to solve the problem. If we have moved, we have been largely successful in coming out of that crisis. It's because the leadership actually took up the challenge and worked towards it.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. Like the angst that you are feeling, and probably some of us who are feeling it, our leadership is still immune to it.
Yeah.
They don't feel
They're
that
not woken up.
So I think it
Absolutely.
probably goes back to the political crisis.
Yes.
Hopefully, that once we have some clarity after state, I don't think the state election dates have even been finalized.
No,
but
state
they-
elections will happen in October.
Yeah, so I think till June 4th, we can safely assume that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
what we
Also,
have.
the model code of conduct is in place, so
Yeah,
we won't be able to. We won't expect anything to happen in this.
So, like you just said, the state election will happen in October. It's a will,
Yeah.
okay? But when it comes to local government election,
It's-
that we have actually not allowed it to happen. Like, and that's where the culprits are the political leaders and the state election commissioner. It's a constitutional position. That person should have taken that up. Like, high courts and supreme courts can pass some strictures, but it's not their domain.
Yeah.
It's actually these people who are out there. Like,
So now, just coming back to core issues.
sure.
That interview that you gave, you mentioned mobility, air quality, and housing. These were the top 3 issues that you said that going into the elections, which is as good as civic elections, that if you're a Mumbaiker and if you're watching this, Praja believes that these are the top 3 issues. Can we just talk about each of them? Mobility, housing, air quality. I think all 3 are fairly significant. Start with mobility.
Can I just give a background to it?
Please, please.
So why I said that this is a civic, although this is not a civic election, these are issues which probably we need to dwell about. Our constitution has a very clearly defined framework of what the state and the central government will do. What a local government can do is not very well defined. The 74th Amendment, again going back to that, has a word called may to when it comes to transferring functions and all that stuff. Like, it's not a will or shall, rather. They shall transfer it. Like, so what has happened is that it allowed a scope for the state to infringe the job of the local government. And right now what we are seeing, that there is no local government, that's because the state government has literally infringed it, and the central government is fine with that. They are also not kind of credible. Yeah. Coming from that, because we don't have a local election right now, a local government right now, this and the state government is also in some kind of flux.
Let us say. Yeah.
I think this is a place where we need to make sure that as citizens, our issues are heard back. Like, when it comes to a city like Mumbai, I think economy is a main issue because it's an aspiration city. People come here for jobs, yes, businesses, all that. So there is something happening good over there. Like, I mean, can improve, but happening good over there. But what we are facing largely is a question of mobility. We are not able to move our people from point A to point B in an efficient way. Our investments are not going for that. We are seeing investment in a coastal road, which I don't know how many people cars are going to use. No, not people. Cars are going to use.
Cars, sorry, yeah.
I mean, one car just carries one person. I mean, if you count the driver, 2 people. Like. Yeah. So,
and even if it's full, just 4 or 5 people.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And the gestation period for the investment is again a separate issue. Probably we should have seen about 10,000 electric AC buses in the city if we really want to solve the problem. Like, we are not seeing those kind of issues out there. Like, now these are the problems which would have been debated if we had a corporation, if we had the councillors and the mayor, and if the mayors were empowered. Our mayors are not even empowered. That's a different topic.
They used to be at one point of time.
Very long ago.
Just when the MIC period. So the mayoring council is a very important mechanism which was brought in late 90s. Yeah. In fact, Devendra Fadnavis was the mayoring council, the mayor when that system was there.
Wow, I didn't know that.
In Nagpur.
Yeah. So he's seen the benefit of that.
Wow.
But when he was there as the CM and even now as a deputy CM, that was a point he could have probably brought his experience and actually empowered the mayor. But anyway, that's again, I think, a very long subject and a separate subject to go in. But issues like mobility will get attention only when you have a council to debate about a decision. Right now, what is happening is that there is a decision which is thrown upon us by some executive person, may it be officer or the minister, and there is no deliberation about whether it is the right decision or not. Yeah. They can, of course, keep on doing the same decision, but there has to be some kind of deliberation. That can only happen if you are local government. Coming to the next topics of which I had
housing and air quality.
Housing and air quality. I mean, 50% of the people live in in slums. Others live in matchbox apartments with very less access to, let's say, open spaces or things which are for good quality of life. So we have to solve for that problem. I mean, we are not solving for the housing problem. And mobility and housing can literally have a good correlation. Air quality, I had listed out as a low on the priority.
It's become very important in the last couple of years.
But it's still low on the priority when it comes to Mumbai. Because, not because we have done something good. Sure. We just are located in a geography where we are not affected that much. There are few days, but not like India. Not like what Delhi faces. Like. So air quality is a little low. Open spaces was higher for us in the order. Maybe after mobility housing, open spaces could be there. Sure. We don't have access to open spaces at all in the city. I mean, very few places. We should actually have more access to open spaces. Wherever we have access to open spaces, it's also restricted. I have young kids. If I were to take them to a garden to play, there's a board outside municipal gardens these days which says that the kids can play in the garden, they can walk on the lawn, they can't run on the lawn, they can, all sort of things. So I don't know why the gardens are even there in the first place. Are they just a showpiece or whatever? But those are there. Like, we used to have Maidans, a lot of Maidans earlier. Now they have got encroached. So I think these are issues which are to be solved for. Like I have parents who are senior citizens. If they have to walk on the roads are not, the footpaths are not proper. If they want to access open space, again, that's there's a lack of it. Like, so I think that's one area that needs to be addressed.
And
Health is
they're all-
another area.
I'm sorry to intervene and they're all interconnected in some way because you mentioned senior citizens, and I discussed this point with Girish in the previous episode.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how difficult it is for senior citizens to even walk towards an open space.
Absolutely.
So what ends up happening is that people like us who are concerned about the health of our parents, we tell our driver or we drive ourselves
Because we have the luxury.
because we have the luxury
Yeah,
to do that. And that contributes to the carbon footprint and AQI and all of that.
Absolutely.
Plus, the real estate issues are so badly, the policy decisions that are being made are haphazard and ad hoc, which means that according to the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board survey, that was done about 2 years ago, it was found that nearly 78% of Mumbai's particulate matter pollution happens because of dust that is created by
Construction.
real estate
Construction,
construction.
yeah, that's what
78%.
Yeah.
And it's not just real estate, I'm sure the
Yeah.
infra works also would have
Yeah,
contributed.
I mean, including all of that. So they are all interconnected. So I can't. I mean, as a citizen, I don't think they can be looked at in isolation.
Absolutely. So mobility, housing, open spaces, health.
Yeah.
These are issues I think which are more core to all of us. Like cut across different socioeconomic backgrounds. Like each of us face it. Like even if you have a car and if you have the luxury, you don't have access to that kind of open space. Let's say you live in an apartment. These days you have sealed gardens and all that stuff. Like these are not real open spaces. Like you need huge gardens, maidans where our parents can go, our children can go. We can go after our office hours. Like we don't have that.
Right now, our enclosed spaces are like movie sets.
Which is ironic because Mumbai's lifeblood, if you look at the early days, 60s, 70s, our entire DNA used to be open spaces. The political movement which started at August Kranti Maidan, by the way, Maidan, was literally here in Bombay. I mean, so it's ironic for a city that had so much of open spaces that believed in letting its citizens out and, live a very active and vibrant life has now shrunk into this very real estate dominated kind of a city which is very hostile to openness.
Absolutely. And Mumbai is a city which is actually, which used to be and still largely moves around public transport. Okay, and we are very comfortable using public transport. I mean, all of us are very comfortable using public transport. The buses, trains. We do go out on the road to buy stuff, and we do walk for that. Like a lot of cities don't have that luxury. So Mumbai is actually a very livable city if you think it from that perspective. But we are killing it.
I want to step in there, Milind, because what you mentioned is on point. From what I know of statistics from the RTO, I think in the last 5 years, Bombay has added more vehicles.
Yes.
Whether it's two-wheeler, whether it's four-wheeler, that's a different thing, than any other city in India.
Right.
Now, that to me is surprising because I think 10 years ago, Pune had more two-wheelers combined than any city in India. Now, Pune has been overtaken by Bombay. Okay, Mumbai. Sorry, I keep on, saying Bombay, but that's just old school. And Delhi used to have the highest number of four-wheelers.
Yes.
Okay. And it was for Delhi, if you combine all of the metros in India, Delhi would still have more four-wheelers. I don't know whether Bombay is still reached there. Okay. Now, I want to keep that statistic on one side. And I want you to come in here and talk about mobility. Right? Because the conversations and discussions just get carried away with Coastal Road, Atal Setu, look at that. It's marked as progress. When you say mobility, my guess is that the focus should be on mass transit.
True.
Okay, which is, I don't know what's been happening there. Your thoughts here?
So I think when it comes to mobility, like you rightly said, we are spending money on modes which are used by very few people. So the proportion investment is not happening. We should be actually investing more on buses. Like I just said, I mean, it's a ballpark figure which I'm putting out. Probably we need 10,000 buses in the next 1 year, and they should be air-conditioned buses. Absolutely, there's no need why they should not be. I mean, it should not be a comfortable transport. Like we should invest in our footpaths. The way our footpaths are, the gradients which when they come up and down, it's like a athletic course. Like, I mean, you have a hurdle obstacle course, and you kind of do that. Like, we have to invest in that. Like, we are not investing in that. There's if you talk to a marketing person, they will say that dumb down your content keep it simple, so that a 3-year and a 80-year or 70-year can understand. It's like that. If you want to really have a livable city, make sure the roads can be accessed by your kid and your parents or your grandparents. Yeah. If you can do that, then you have a livable city. So the pedestrian is the second part in the mobility. The third is caveat. I'm a cyclist, so I'll do like cycling a lot. And Mumbai is a city where a lot of people actually use cycles for reaching to their employment places.
Livelihood.
Right? So we do have a cycling culture, we do have a walking culture, we do have a culture for using public transport. Our buses, trains are accessed by everybody, and these are very safe spaces because there's a crowd, there's some kind of safety measures taken up. So these are very safe spaces, and it makes the city safer. Like, I think Mumbai is safer because our people use public transport. It's not like Delhi, where people do shy away from public transport, right? So from all sides perspective, mobility is probably just a segue into multiple issues, like may it be safety, may it be livelihoods, may it be education. If you want everything to be sorted out, or maybe just leisure and other stuff, like we need to sort out mobility.
Sure.
It's kind of fulcrum which can hold together everything. Like, if you want to solve a housing problem, maybe again mobility is an answer for it. Like, not everybody given at the rate our real estate is working, particularly the land prices. We can do a lot of other things, but we'll have to make sure that certain people who can move outside the city and come into the city at a very quick, like in a speedy way and in a comfortable way. For that, again, mobility is something that we'll have to look at it. Like.
Yeah. Sachin?
One of the issues that Aditya Thackeray was speaking about when he was environment minister, was, part of this whole livability conundrum where he said that everything should be accessible to citizens within 20 to 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a global standard.
Global standard. Now we are nowhere near that. One of the issues that keep cropping up is the last mile problem.
Yes.
And I wanted to, draw your attention there. Because you mentioned mobility, I wanted to speak specifically about the last mile issue. It's okay to have multiple metro lines, multiple railway lines, buses, all of that. But from the metro station to my house is the last mile issue, and that is where I'm using more carbon footprint.
Yes.
Using my auto rickshaw or my car, because I'll park my car there and I'll go home, because I don't know whether the buses, which you say rightly, we need thousands and thousands of buses, they don't just arrive because of traffic issues, right? Yeah. All of that. So if I have to reach my daughter really quickly and I want to give her a hug, what will I do? I will use the auto rickshaw and I'll go home because I want to reach my family, right? So I'm not blaming the citizen for this.
Of course not.
So if we have to solve for mobility, I wanted to, understand from you, where are we on the path of the last mile connectivity as well? I know that in certain metro stations we are designing for that, but do you think that we are on the right path for everything else as well?
So that's why our leadership is failing. You made a statement about Aditya Thackeray saying 30 minutes and all that. Like, if I was running, we all in our capacity run programs or organizations, right? There's a vision statement for it, which we'll have. Like Praja has a vision statement about creating better quality of life for urban citizens. Somebody else will have something like that. Our policymakers, if they want to solve the mobility problem, will have to have that kind of vision statement and work towards it. If the vision statement was like what you said, making sure that everybody can have a 30-minute kind of commute to their workspaces, and that's what they're targeting. That can be expanded to address your problem, where you say that if I have to get down at the bus stop, I still have to take an auto. So maybe the bus stops need to be like at a distance of maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes of walk from your home, if that is there. So Hong Kong, Singapore, they actually had those kind of statements.
Yes.
So they had a statement where I think it was earlier 15 minutes, they brought it down to 10 minutes, incrementally. That is something which our city's leaders have not presented. One of the reasons for that is we have a city which is run by a commissioner who is an appointed officer of the state government. That person is accountable to the state government. That person is a career bureaucrat. I'm not taking away from the capacity of the person, any person who's there in that capacity.
Or the qualification.
Yeah. But that person, his motivation is to be here for 2 years max.
Yeah.
And then go for his next posting. And that posting is done by somebody at another level who doesn't really care whether you have done good for the city or not. It's their kind of whims and fancies. That person is not accountable to you and me. So how is he going to really solve a problem? The only answer for that is to make sure that these issues are in the domain of the city government or the local government. Make sure that our cities are run by people who are accountable to us. The mayor has to be accountable to us. The mayor has to be empowered completely to run the city. He is the CEO. And then you have the officers coming in, the commissioners coming in, who are actually the implementing officer. They know the law, they know how it needs to be done, their capacity to mobilize and organize and get it done. Let them do that job. The vision and everything has to be done by the mayor, not by a state legislator or not by a state minister.
Very interesting.
It has to be the mayor. If you want to solve the problem for Mumbai, if I just say one solution, it's empowered mayor. We need an empowered mayor.
And not by decree. It should be by discussion.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out whether the role of organizations like yours or citizens like us, how do we create, I'm going back to that issue of how do we create that meeting point for the three most important pillars of urban governance, which is elected representatives, civic organizations, and citizens. Where do we make that connection and how do we do it?
Let me answer it in a different way. You want to do it because you want to make sure that we all have a good quality of life, right?
And accountability of the people in power.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that then there are three questions to be asked or three things to be studied. The first is who runs your city? If you're able to answer and hold that person accountable, and that's where my empowered mayor comes into picture.
Right.
Then you, of course, float. You have a legislative structure which holds the mayor accountable and all that. You have councillors and you have officials who do the job and all that stuff. So you of course distill it further. Then the second thing comes is what are the resources which are available to that person who runs the city. So right now what happens is in Indian context, we pay a lot of taxes and charges. But most of these end up into the coffers of the central government or in the state government. Very limited amount of budget, charges that we pay or taxes we pay go to the local government directly. Most of what the local government gets comes through transfers from the state and the central government. So the local government is really dependent on them. That is not the way it can happen. Our cities should have complete control over their finances.
Yeah.
When we talk of developed countries, let's say USA, for example, in America or in New York, the New York City actually has a stake directly into the income tax share as well. So, in Indian context, the cities don't have any stake in the income tax share. So those are things that we'll have to sort for. Then when I say what sort of resources does that person have, it also talks about the human resources. The commissioner is not appointed by the mayor. But if you talk of the state government or the central government, the PM and the CM appoints their key officials, right?
Right.
My key official is not appointed by my mayor. It's actually toppled upon him by somebody else. Which we need to change. The structure has to be empowered in that manner. The third thing is about how our citizens are able to participate in governance.
Yeah.
Accountability is one part of it. Are we able to hold our governments accountable? In a way, is we do have elections every 5 years. Local government, that's a different thing, but we do have that. But it's more than accountability. It's about participation. Right now, what happens as a citizen, I'm able to pay a tax, I'm able to put a complaint maybe. The complaint may get redressed, may not get redressed, there's escalation which is built up, which is good. But I'm not able to give my ideas and suggestions and needs to the government. There's no forum for participation. That needs to be solved for.
Sure.
We need to have a forum where we can actually giving ideas. I'm not talking about decision making. We live in indirect democracy, so the decision making has to be left to people whom we are elected for that job.
Correct.
But at least I need a forum where I can put it independently. It need not be because I am a part of a political party or I know someone, I have access to that person, I'm able to kind of put a need. It's just that everybody should be able to put it. We'll have to revamp our citizen participation mechanism in a way that we are able to really participate and not be simply a consumer. If we are able to solve for these three, then that connect of citizens, government, elected representatives, everything will come together. It's a structural problem. Our structures are actually not fit for this day and age. We'll have to revamp our entire structure.
Right.
Okay.
So these three things is probably will allow us to revamp those structure.
Milind, just to wrap up this episode into some very actionable points, how can we, the viewers, Sachin, me, probably yourself also, as citizens, improve this accountability? Okay, which could be asking the right questions to the right people. Accountability, therefore, the overall quality of administration. Okay, because the question, the structure that the 3-tier structure that you gave, jab hoga tab hoga. Hopefully it happens at some point of time. But accountability, quality of administration, equal to a quality of life of improvement in Bombay. So let's start with accountability, go to administration, and then it's a wrap.
For accountability, I think the first step is actually getting more informed. Most of our citizens really don't understand what is the job of a councillor, MLA, MP, which departments do what kind of thing. It's basic civic education. And that's because of the way we are taught civics in schools. I mean, it's really neglected subject. Anyway, so civic education school, we can keep on working on it. But as citizens, we need to first get informed about our agencies. That's the first stage. The second, even in this current scenario, we do have a lot of methods of participating. Mumbai is lucky to have a system to put in complaints. 1916 is the telephone number to put in complaints. The website is there, portal is there. And our data tells that every year about 60 to 70% complaints do get solved on time. There's a citizen charter and there's a time for each complaint category. And they do get solved without any intervention of any the connect that you may have or influence that you may have. So the system works. But we only see that there are about 70 to 80,000 complaints every year that come into the system. So if we see that our city is failing, 70, 80,000 is not the right number. So we are not, although we have a platform to put in a complaint, which will lead to some accountability, we are not using it sufficiently. And that's why my information thing started out, education thing started out. The third is, after anybody who is being elected, may it be councillor, MLA or MP, they are your elected representatives. They are your people's representatives. It doesn't matter whether you follow that ideology, you have voted for that person or not. If we really need accountability, if we really need the next delta of vision for the city or next new programs, we need to start working with them. We need to probably meet them every few days. It's like, if I really care for my family, I will make sure that I talk to all my people. If I care for the company and there's something which is happening bad in my company or something not happening right in my company, I will go and talk to my senior management or somebody else, right? I will engage with them. Think it of that similar analogy for the city. If there's something weak in the city, something that you need better, whom do we go and talk to? It's my councillor, it's my MLA, it's my MP, not the government officer.
Yeah.
I think the government officer is only for the complaints and stuff, like when your service is not working properly. So you go to them for regular stuff, but when you want to really build your city, solve for the problems, talk to the councillor, MLA, MP.
Sure.
Even if we meet them, let's say twice a year, literally twice a year. I think sometimes the target is that just 2 बार साल में जाके उनको मिल के आ जाओ. And just tell them your problems, ask them what they are doing, and keep that rhythm. I think that will also have a huge impact. It doesn't require any constitutional method, constitutional change or anything like. It's just a recognition that citizenship is a full-time job.
Wow, I like the sound of that. Citizenship is a full-time job.
Absolutely.
Sachin, closing thoughts? Citizenship is a full-time job.
It is.
I love that.
Yeah. And like we mentioned earlier, voting is just the beginning of the democratic process.
Yeah.
So, and from there comes the citizenship as a full time, because we think, oh, we've elected somebody, let that person do the job. No, it is our responsibility to ensure. It's like our children. We want them to be independent, but we want to also ensure that they don't, stray somewhere else. So, Milind, thank you so much for being here. Anupam?
Yeah, Milind, thank you. And I think if you're watching this, I think some starting points for you as a citizen could be to get the contact, either email addresses, mobile phone numbers. These are elected representatives.
And they are available in the public domain.
They are available in the public domain. If you're someone who's active in social media, please tag them.
Yeah.
BMC, for example, has literally every ward has a Twitter account.
Absolutely.
Okay. If social media is your thing, please contact them through Facebook, Twitter, now known as X. Email addresses are there if you're someone who believes in email. Mobile numbers are there, and you just have to go to the website and get these, access them, and that's it, right?
They're on our website also. In fact, there's a profile page of each councillor, MLA, or MP on Praja website. It also has what they're doing, the questions asked, a lot of data. And it's there on the BMC website, the state government website. So it's absolutely there.
Those are your takeaways, folks, from this episode of the Saving Mumbai podcast. That is a wrap. Milind Mhaske, CEO, Praja Foundation. Milind, thank you so much for this for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.